Hi and welcome to the Soundschi Land show where everybody's upside down.
Every day is upside down day in Soundschi Land.
Today I'm going to share with you some thoughts about programming your training. First of all, I want to make very clear that if you're not experienced with practicing anything physically, I strongly recommend getting a coach first. It will help you to get an understanding of your body, to get to know your limits, and also an outside perspective. There are as many approaches as there are people in the world to programming your training. And a good programming for one person can look completely different for another person. So what I'm going to give you here is just my own perspective of having worked as a personal trainer in the last 6 years, and myself having been a figure skater for 22 years competitively, and then a competitive dancer for 5 years. And now having been looking at different ways to practice my hand balancing with and without the help of coaches. Since everybody's so different, I'm not going to be able to give you very concrete answers, but there are some general rules that I found out for myself that I'm going to share with you. Basically, your programming should be in accordance with what your goal is and where you are at in relation to that. This will determine what kind of work you have to do in order to get what you want. So let's say your goal is to stand in a 10-second freestanding handstand. The first question would be, what is the next best regression you can do? Is it standing a minute against the wall facing it? Or is it catching your balance maybe every 15th time or whenever you're lucky? Or is it none of that? Do you have trouble standing at the wall? Depending on your answer, your program will look differently. So once you have set your goal and you have assessed where your standpoint is in relation to that, the next question would be, where do you need to set your priorities to have the most efficient progress? Or in other words, what would be the biggest lever for your success? So let's take the example of you being able to hold a wall handstand for, let's say, 30 to 60 seconds comfortably, but balance isn't happening. So why is balance not happening? If you can hold a decent position, meaning a good alignment in your face to wall handstand, meaning you have your center of mass over your wrists, you most likely need to practice actual balancing and precisioning your entries to handstands to improve your proprioception. If this actually is a problem you have, go ahead and watch my episode on how to get away from the wall. If your goal is to hold a 10-second free handstand, but standing at the wall for 10 seconds already makes you shake and puts you out of breath, obviously would be a good idea to prioritize building strength and alignment at the wall first. So the next question then becomes, what is the biggest limiting factor for you being able to hold a decent wall handstand? Is it the fact that you just haven't spent enough time on your hands? Or is it a lack of requirements like mobility? And then the next question becomes, is it your active mobility? Or do you even lack passive mobility? And you see where I'm going with all of this. In the end, it all comes down to finding your root problem, which if you work on it, will probably be your biggest lever. This approach is pretty simple and effective once you know your goal and how to assess your current standpoint. The hard part about it is managing it in the context of having more than one goal and other life priorities interfering with your training goals. If you actually have issues with your life getting in the way, go and watch my video about training consistency. Maybe you will find something helpful in there. Also, this approach requires you to actually know what you're trying to learn in terms of technique, progressions, and prerequisitions. And while I do hope that my channel and my website provide a good source for you to get an understanding about this in regards to handstands and flexibility, again, I really strongly recommend that you go to workshops, get a coach. If you don't have a coach in your area, get an online coach to improve your understanding, not only about technique progressions and prerequisitions, but also about yourself, your body awareness, and how far you can go in terms of your limits. So I hope this was helpful. This was very, very general, and I didn't talk about volume or frequency or the actual content of your training. Well, yeah, it's a very complex subject and it's very individual. So if you have any more questions about this, don't be afraid to post it in the comments and I can try to make another episode about it. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, come on over to handstanddiary.com and subscribe to the newsletter, and I'll see you next Monday on the Soundschi show. The world is your playground, so just do whatever you love. Whatever you love. Yeah, we're done.